to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, come along with us as we take a look at the Charles Curtis House in Topeka. Next, we tour KBI's $55 million forensic lab on the grounds of Washburn University. Then enjoy a poem from Ron Wilson. And we'll end with the story of Kaw Point, the place where the Lewis and Clark expedition landed on June 26, 1804. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the Yellow Brick Road. Good morning, I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And this is Around Kansas, and we're in the echo chamber this morning.
I remember when this was the catacombs, Frank.
Yeah, we're in the state capitol in the lower level.
This is where the visitor center is, and this used to be, honestly, Frank, I can remember when the Secretary of State and some of the other offices had storage down here, and the stones were falling down, and it was like you were going through the catacombs. And so what they have done, all this is beautiful, useful space, and when you have tons of school kids coming to visit the Capitol, believe me, every inch of this space gets used. So it was, I think, a great investment by the state of Kansas. Come and see your Capitol. You know, this belongs to you. As Dick Bond used to say, you know, this is the people's house. So come and see it. It's spectacular.
Yeah,
it's
this
beautiful.
whole lower level is really quite interesting. There's a lot of history on the walls.
Yep.
Where we are in the snack bar, there's a lot of artwork here about different places around the state of Kansas. A lot of them we've already told you about in stories.
You know, one of my favorite shows, looking back, of course, the people that you get to meet, Frank. And when I got to sit down when the band Kansas was inducted into the Kansas Hall of Fame, and I got to sit down with Rich and Billy and David Ragsdale, Billy Greer, Rich Williams, and David Ragsdale. And we sat, I think we did 2 episodes of the show, 2 whole episodes with them. So go back in our archive and look for those. That was awesome to sit and visit with them. And of course, they're so down to earth. And Rich, of course, grew up right here in Topeka. And Billy Greer, it was so funny because he's basically a hillbilly from the hills of Tennessee. We think we're probably from the same gene pool. And we were sitting there visiting one night at White Concert Hall, and Billy's wife is actually just recording our conversation to play for the hillbillies back home in Tennessee, because she said, I think Billy found one of his cousins here, you know, and phenomenally talented and so humble about their gifts and hardworking. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, one of my favorites was when we did the Prairie National Park. We actually went there and shot on location and toured the facilities. And if you've never been there, you should go there. I mean, it's your park. And I mean, in the immediate area, when you go in, there's a lot of stuff to see. But if you want to take the family and camp out there and all of that, you get over into the park itself, and then suddenly you're in essentially the prairie part of Kansas the way it was. I mean, they don't mow it and all of that. I mean, it's the way it was.
No fences, no billboards, no.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and an interesting place to go see too.
There's just no end to the interesting places. Beautiful places. We love bringing those places, the people. We love bringing that to you every week, and we're thrilled to share some of our favorites with you today. Stay with us.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
And we're back again. This is Around Kansas. I'm Frank.
I'm still Deb.
And we're doing oldies but goodies today.
So one of my favorite places, and it has been ever since I moved to Kansas, is of course the Charles Curtis House. And if you recall, we did a 15-minute documentary on Charles Curtis a few months back, and that is available online at the Kansas Humanities Council website. So if you go to their website and you look at, I think, films, you can find Our Charlie listed on their films, and you can watch it. And we encourage you to do that. Share it with your students if you're a teacher, or club meetings. If you want one of us to come and talk about it, we'll be glad to with your group. So the Curtis House is just a treasure, and God bless Don and Nova Cottrell for saving it. And it is open for tour by appointment. But in the meantime, you can go back with us and take a look at it. Charles Curtis was born in a cabin that no longer stands on the north side of the Kansas River in 1860. He lived in various homes, and maybe even a teepee, throughout his colorful life. In 1907, as he became more successful as a lawyer and politician, he purchased a mansion on the corner of 11th and Topeka Boulevard, a home possessing a fine view of the Kansas State House. His neighbor on the corner to the north was Arthur Capper, publisher, governor, and U.S. Senator. The Charles Curtis home is an example of a rather unique and distinctive residential architecture, incorporating bulbous domes, Romanesque arches, and Renaissance massing. It is an early example of eclecticism in Kansas building. Though he did not originally design the house, famed Philadelphia architect Seymour Davis made later alterations. The mansion has exceptional chandeliers, ornamental plaster, a grand staircase, parquet floors, stained and jeweled glass windows, and 4 fireplaces, 2 white oak, 1 solid cherry, and 1 of Italian marble. According to the State Historical Society, the house has more intact parquet flooring than any other historical house in Kansas. It was once described as not surpassed by any residence in the city. Its purchase by Don and Nova Cottrell likely saved it from the fate of many of its sister mansions along the boulevard that have fallen to the wrecking ball. The mansion has a large collection of historical memorabilia and artifacts, and it is furnished with antiques, some from the Curtis family, as well as some of the Curtis memorabilia. The Cottrells maintain the house as a museum to Curtis's legacy. It was placed on the National Register in 1976.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Here we are again. You know, one of my favorite stories too was when got to tour the new KBI Forensic Science Building on the campus of Washburn University in Topeka. It's a huge building, and I believe it cost $35 million to build. You think, what? What could they possibly put in there? Well, as you're going to see in this story, you'll know what it was. I mean, the unbelievable scientific equipment that's in there. It's a fascinating place, and yes, you can take a tour of it. If you do have an opportunity, you should go see that new building at Washburn.
Doggone it, that's one I have got to do. I was so jealous that you guys got to go do that, and I didn't get to go because I wasn't in town that day. I was doing something else. I was, my first real media job, I started writing for the local paper when I was 15, but then a full-time job for the newspaper in Mayberry, Mount Airy, North Carolina. I covered court. So I was the court reporter full-time. Loved it. The only thing I've loved as much or more was doing media training at Fort Leavenworth. I loved that, but it's the same, not that I don't love working with you guys just as much, but crime drama as TV, is a great reflection of the real life crime drama. There's nothing that touches it. And sitting in a courtroom, sitting there when they're rolling out that evidence and they're arguing these cases, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. But when you get to the hard, dramatic scenes, there's nothing like it. I covered several death penalty cases, several first-degree murder trials, and that forensic evidence, like you said, it's so important. The advances in science and technology now that enter in, it's phenomenal. That was a desperately needed facility, desperately needed.
And there's a state-of-the-art facility right here in Topeka on the campus of Washburn University. Let's take a look.
The Kansas Bureau of Investigation, KBI, opened a $55 million forensic lab on the grounds of Washburn University. The 100,000 square foot building houses the Bureau's state-of-the-art crime lab and replaces the existing facility located in the basement of a former Topeka school building. According to KBI Lab Director Mike Van Straten, there are 70 scientists and technicians working in the facility. The new building has specific areas reserved for each department of the lab, including biology, DNA, toxicology, chemistry, firearm tool marks, latent prints, trace evidence, and digital forensics. There is also an area for processing vehicles. In addition to housing KBI's forensics operation, the new building houses an expanded forensics program for Washburn University. In addition to the existing forensic chemical science degree, which includes an emphasis on forensic chemistry and biology, the university recently added concentrations in digital forensics and forensic anthropology, as well as forensic investigation, to the Washburn course offerings. The students will work in labs similar to those used by the KBI forensic scientists, and they will share common space, including a crime reconstruction space and a 100-seat auditorium. KBI scientists will be guest lecturers and experts in Washburn's classes, and faculty members will be available to provide their expertise to KBI as needed. It is expected that some of those students will transition to KBI forensic scientists and technicians. The new building is the result of a partnership between the university, KBI, and the city of Topeka. The Topeka Public Building Commission financed the project, and rent paid by KBI will eventually retire the bonds. This lab is one of only a handful of working forensic labs on university campuses, and the only one where the lab and the university share space to help educate students, according to a Washburn spokesman.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app. or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
I was in an accident where I fell off a roof. I took the conventional route by using medicine, and I went to see numerous doctors. I found that it really wasn't working as well as I had hoped it would. I don't know why I started to research stem cells, but I did. And I visited with the doctors. They were excellent. I had my neck done, I had my shoulders done, I had a section of my back done, my hips, my sacrum, my sciatica, and my tailbone. But it wasn't really that painful. I was surprised at how easily it was done. It took me approximately 4 hours from the beginning to the end. Now I am having better range of motion in my arms and my neck and my back. So it's been very beneficial to me, and I want to thank Kansas Regenerative Medical Center. It was a long road to get there, but I'm so glad that I found them.
Welcome to the Jerry Thomas Gallery and Collection, where we showcase my renowned frontier military and Native American artifacts. Behind me you see a touch of fall. We put together not only the beauty of Micah Highwalking, who is the first graduate of West Point of the Northern Cheyenne people and a dear friend, but also a Hudson's Bay blanket that I have here in the gallery. The unique opportunity that I was able to have was we unveiled this painting and surprised Micah at Custer Battlefield, a true honor.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
The mid to late 1800s meant a huge change in the culture of what would become Kansas. Homesteaders came into the state of Kansas following the Homestead Act, and with them they brought fencing. And this poem is based on the true story of the invention of barbed wire fence. The poem is entitled The Death of Open Range. Let me tell you of a time when open range was in its prime. Cowboys rode their horses forth and drove the herds of cattle north. We could ride all over this great land, unfettered by the human hand. Then a farmer over Illinois way invented something that's used today. His name was Mr. Joseph Glidden. He was doing the homesteader's bidding. He took a pair of heavy pliers and wrapped barbs around a long piece of wire. The barb's sharp points kept stock in or out. It could be used for fencing all about. For the open range, it was a turn of events, 'cause barbed wire made it easy to string a fence. Barbed wire succeeded more than Glidden had planned. Soon fences crisscrossed the open land. The Old West changed with Glidden's invention, and it caused the cowboys apprehension. No more could we ride over free open range, and the cowboy's role would be forever changed. Homesteaders and nesters scarred this land and changed the role of the old cowhand. The cowboy's work continues on, but the days of open range are gone. The open range would have no more hope. That's why cowboys called barbed wire the devil's rope. Happy trails.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family-owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. you'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Mark your calendars now for the 2018 Topeka Farm Show, January 9th, 10th, and 11th at the Kansas Expo Center. 253 exhibitors, 612 booths, and other attractions like free horse training clinics with Scott Daly, the Kansas Soybean Expo, and free well water nitrate testing. Enjoy free parking, admission, and a chance to win grand prizes courtesy of Midland Seed and Hoyt Truck Center. All this and more at the Topeka Farm Show, January 9th through the 11th at the Kansas Expo Center.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
So Frank, you know, our videographer here, Michael Gehring, an impressionable young man, and he looks to us for guidance. You realize that, don't you? So we do what we can for Michael, and I'll bring in stories, Frank will bring in stories, and because he's, 10, 12 years old, he's never heard of these things, you know, and so we do our best to educate him. So when I was telling him about Kaw Point and how incredible it was, well, not taking my word for it, he had to go see for himself. And he's been back, I think he said 4 times since then. But
he got lost the first time. Though,
yeah, well, you know, we do what we can. But it is one of the most unique and beautiful scenes in Kansas because you're right there on the river in Kansas City, and it's not, you're actually in a little bit of nature right there, you know, it's a little bit of rocks and woods and, you know, just a little corner of nature that's still there, but you've got that incredible city skyline across the river behind you, and it is something. It really is something. I did Lewis and Clark events there a while back, and whatever you're doing there, it's something everybody's got to check out at some point.
Kaw Point.
Kaw Point. The Lewis and Clark expedition arrived at Kaw Point, the confluence of the Kansas and Missouri rivers, on June 26, 1804. The expedition camped for 3 days to rest, repair their boats, and explore the surrounding countryside. They had been traveling up the Missouri almost 2 months. On the day the explorers first saw the Kansas River, Clark wrote that they encountered a great number of parrot-queets, a bird now extinct. The explorers also saw their first buffalo. Kaw Point is now surrounded by industry and development. In 2001, the point itself still existed in an overgrown and neglected state. Volunteers began the process of building and improving the park in preparation for the bicentennial commemorative event held in June of 2004. The Wyandotte County Lewis and Clark Task Force, in partnership with the state of Kansas, Unified Government, Local Convention, Visitors Bureau, various community organizations, and private funders worked together to improve the site. Donations from local businesses and literally thousands of volunteers provided site cleanup, trail enhancement, infrastructure restoration, signage, historical interpretation, and visitor support services for the bicentennial events. Since 2004, a renewed effort by the newly organized Friends of Kaw Point has resulted in significant improvements and additions to this legacy project. Today it is located in the center of metropolitan Kansas City with a great view of downtown, but the point itself remains in a natural state with beautiful wooded trails, wildflowers, and wildlife. This accessible park has an infrastructure to support a large number of visitors and has an outdoor amphitheater equipped with electricity for performing arts and special events.
Hope you enjoyed the oldies but goodies. I'm Frank,
I'm Deb.
and we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Welcome to Kansas, gateway to Oz.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
And churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy's dream.